Are we ready to get going? I hope so.
Hold on 1 second.
Oh.
Mine's drought resistant. Part of this problem, Dave. Every last one. Yeah. Oh yeah, you couldn't. What is it? Oh,
Dealing with that thing last night. We got a letter. Oops.
Okay. Rhonda, have we got any additions to the agenda? We'll get started here.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the county council will read in the addition for closed session.
Okay.
Chairman, members of the board, an item has come up that wasn't appearing on the agenda that came to the attention of the county after the agenda was posted. And in order to put an additional item under conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to paragraph 2, 54956.9, paragraph 2 or 3, one case, you would need a 2/3 vote, a unanimous vote to add it to the agenda.
I move that we take up this item and find that the need to take action on it arose after the posting of the agenda.
second.
Okay, roll call, please. Any public comment? Public comment, roll call, please.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Okay, County Council, will you read into the items, the rest of the closed session items?
Yes, Chairman, there are several items for the board to consider. The first is Government Code 54957.6, conference with labor negotiators. The employee representatives, the agency designated representative is Adrian Caleb, and the employee organization is all units. There's Government Code Section 54956.8, conference with real property negotiators. There's two items here. The first is APN number, assessor's parcel number 049085022. The agency negotiator is Eric Fleming, and the negotiating party is Sinonian Family Partnership. Under negotiations are price, terms, and conditions of sale, exchange, or lease of this property. The second real property negotiation item, the agency negotiator is the CAO. The negotiating party is Marcelino Gonzalez, and the under negotiation is price and terms. There is one anticipated litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, paragraph 2 and 3. One case, EEOC charge, John Baker versus the County of Madera's District Attorney. There is a performance evaluation of your Director of Social Services under Government Code Section 54957, and one other item under 54957 for public employee discipline, dismissal, release, and complaint. Thank you.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
That's it. Okay. Any public comment on what we're doing in the closed session for? See any? So we're going to closed session for a few minutes, hour or so. Okay, we're ready to get going again. Sorry we went in the closed session a bit longer than we had to finish one of the items. Still got a lot more to do. We'll do it after the regular meeting. Is there anything to report out of the closed session so far, County Council?
Chairman, there are no reportable actions from closed session.
Okay. Let's see. Agenda item number 3, we're going to open and close in memory of, in my district, Doug Malouf. He was a druggist up there for many years, him and his wife Jackie. He passed away on the 2nd after a long series of sickness. A great guy. They've done so much for the people up there. I can't even tell you when they owned the store and after they closed it. And be severely missed up there. Any other supervisors have anybody else? Okay. Barry Bernard from the West Side Christian Fellowship is here, going to give the invocation. Amy, would you like to give the Pledge of Allegiance today? Okay.
Morning, and I would ask on behalf of this board and this branch of our government that you would bless them, Father, watch over them, give them great wisdom as they decide important matters, give them skill and leadership, the ability to do so by example. Lord, I pray that you would also give them the courage of their convictions to do what's right, even when it isn't easy or popular. Father, I also would ask that you would give them unity, and most importantly, that you would give them your favor and blessing. I would also pray on behalf of their families, that you would protect them and encourage them, grant them patience, Lord. And I also would ask, Lord, that you would bless each member and all the administrative staff here for their sacrifice and their service. I know that working in government can be a thankless job at times. But Father, I know that you see and you take notice and you honor those who honor you and try to do the right thing. So Father, this morning I pray that you would just watch over this place, fill it with your spirit, cover it with your hands of protection, and just be at work in each life, in each heart, as only you can. In Jesus' name, amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Barry and Amy, very much. Well, folks, we've been honoring the past, embracing the present, and looking ahead to the future for our 125th anniversary birthday of Madera County. And I want to get the picture up there in a minute. Although some websites state that the young character actor was from Fresno, Walter Speck O'Donnell was actually from Madera. Two of the Prestado brothers introduced Speck to the Warner Brothers, who in the early 1920s signed Speck to a 3-year contract. That career launched him in playing the freckle-faced little boy in the 1923's Little Johnny Jones. He was nicknamed Speck because he was covered with freckles. He appeared in more than 200 films and TV shows between 1923 and 1978, and he was one of our own from Madera County. And Brett already accused me of that looked like me when I was a little kid. I was a little punk kid, doing those things in Fresno. So, but I was born in Fresno. You still ain't got rid of yours.
Freckles they're just great. My grandma called them angel kisses. And I thought that was nice. My grandpa told me I got too close to the back end of a cow.
And now you got them all covered up with your beard.
Yeah, that's
So what the heck, huh? You better listen to one of them.
Yeah.
Okay, item number 4, public comment. Rhonda, please.
Public comment. The first 15 minutes of each regular session is set aside for members of the public to comment on any item within the jurisdiction of the board but not appearing on the agenda. Items presented under public comment may not be discussed or acted upon by the board at this time. For items appearing on the agenda, the public is invited to comment at the time the item is called for consideration by the board. Any person addressing the board under public comment will be limited to a 3-minute presentation to ensure that all interested parties have an opportunity to speak. Any handouts to the board must be submitted to the chief clerk of the board for distribution to the supervisors. Anyone addressing the board is asked to print their name clearly on the speaker sheet at the podium. Also, all persons addressing the board may state their name and county of residence for the record.
Okay.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. My name is Don Dufer, and I am the chairman of the Madera County Sheriff's Foundation. We are here today to do a presentation, and before we get started, I would like to introduce to you your members of your Sheriff's Foundation. Our chair, Amy Varney, our secretary, Julie Hamilton, our treasurer, Katie Little, and our head of scholarships, Curtis Sis. The Madera County Sheriff's Foundation was started to promote civic responsibility, enhance the resources for the Madera County Sheriff's Department, and provide safety. To date, we have had multiple generous donations from many citizens and businesses of Madera County, and those donations were earmarked this year in the total of $28,000 for our Canine Fund. This is Deputy and Tonka. So these resources are going forward for training and additional canine support for the Madera County Sheriff's Department.
$28,000. Wow.
Yeah.
Is Tonka an Austrian Shepherd? Belgium? Should we get down there? Yeah.
Foundation. Thank you, Amy. Thank you. Was your first name Tom, you said, Tom?
It's Don.
Don?
Yes, Don
Don.
Dufer.
I
In
just-
addition to the canine, we've also been able to do quite a bit of scholarship work. So we're moving citizens of Madera County forward that have a future in law enforcement through scholarships through the colleges and also the local training. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for
We just want to thank you guys, all of you, Amy, for you guys got this all started, and I can't believe what you have raised already. It's just amazing. I know. So keep up the great work, and thank you guys so much.
Thank you for your support.
Okay. Any other public comment? Mr. Matt?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I will certainly do my best to be brief. I wanted to just take a couple minutes to recognize a key member of the Community Economic Development Team, and especially the Planning Division. He's been a great asset to the whole county, but especially to myself and our Code Enforcement Division. He's a supervising code enforcement officer, and he is rounding out his career and getting ready to hang it up and retire and move on and be closer with family. So Eric Yancey has given 16 years to the county and the organization, and has done an excellent job, and he will be certainly missed. He's been my right-hand guy on the code enforcement for several years now. So I just wanted to take a few minutes and congratulate Eric on a great career. I think he's got 30 plus years in the public sector and law enforcement and fire department, and with the county as code enforcement. So I just wanted to take a few minutes and congratulate him and his family for that as well.
We got more stuff for him, so just sit there for a second. So I got a little history on you, Eric. So he worked as extra help in Chowchilla for about 2 years, from 1987 to 1989. Then he started in code enforcement as a permanent employee in 2004 and was promoted in February 2018. Now he's going to leave in July of 18, I guess, or whenever month it is. Working with him, he has been a lifesaver for me. the people, even though they're getting whatever he does to go look at their enforcement, they cannot say anything bad about him. I've never had anybody say that they're a Gestapo. When I was campaigning in 2006, the people up there were so ticked off at our code enforcement, and I called them the Gestapo, and 2 or 3 of them quit. Derek probably remembers. And I said, we'll never have that. And he has done such an excellent job, and the people he's brought in, I think we're going to even have a hiccup when he does retire, darn it, but because the other guys are doing such a good job. And it's nice to get compliments from our citizens saying that, hey, code enforcement here and told me I had to do this, this, and that. And he was nice to me. He didn't, he gave me a chance to do it. I don't have to do it yesterday. But if you do it the second or third time you get caught, I have a thing for him to give him. I was going to give him the date from one that we found yesterday, actually Jay Barney and I. And you're going to be really missed, Eric, I can tell you. And the guys all working at you, I know they're going to miss you. So we got a plaque for you.
Oh, are you going to read it?
Let me read that, then you guys can say something. Yeah. Certificate of appreciation to Eric Yancey, and we wish to express our sincere gratitude for your dedicated public service. Your wisdom and commitment to excellence have long inspired us and will be remembered for many years to come. We wholeheartedly wish you good health, happiness, and continued success in your future endeavors. Signed by all 5 of us. So thank you. Now you guys got something you'd like to say?
Yeah, the code enforcement is a very tough job because you're going and telling somebody what to do with their property and how it should look and so it's not always easy to go and tell them. But what I've seen under your leadership is it helps people get to where they need to be to help their neighbors, to help themselves. And one of the best compliments you could have got, or that I had received, was there was a business that was operating out of a home, cars everywhere. It was a mechanic, and the guy's a very loud voice out in the district. And I had to go he ended up having to move to a different place, and I used him for his car service. I knew I was going to get just an earful about how bad code enforcement was. And I get there, and he says, I have to thank code enforcement. I'm in a better position than I ever have been. My business is doing much better than it ever was out of my home. I didn't realize it. I thought I was saving money. I was losing money. Code enforcement helped me get to a place where my business can actually thrive, right? And so that's what under your leadership has created that atmosphere of not hammering people, but helping people. And so I just want to thank you for everything that you've done for the citizens of Madera County, and wish you well in retirement. Now we'll be red tagging you for anything just so we can see you, right? If your grass gets just a little high, you're done, buddy.
I have to say go to all that.
Yeah. Roger.
Sure.
Thank you. There you go.
Yeah, I have to say ditto to all that. Eric has been worked closely with me and my staff and all of us as well in numerous different situations. And I can say that the county is a better place because of him. It looks better. It operates better, and he's done a fantastic job through the years. This is kind of a personal loss for me because I've known Eric since back in the 80s, and we've been close friends for all those years. I watched his family grow and his children grow up, and his son's in law enforcement now, or in another state. And I can understand his drive to want to be close to them, and that's an important thing. So we wish you the very best of all things, because you deserved it. You worked hard, and just God's blessings on you, Eric. Thank you for your friendship through the years.
Supervisor Rodriguez.
You know, I had one instance. I went to see my doctor, Dr. Jahan, and when I was in there, she said, man, because I've been studying a half dozen times, we have beehives all over the place over here, and who do they belong to? So all I had to do is, and I just happened to run
into code enforcement out there in the garage. I mentioned it to him, and lo and behold, they took care of it within a couple of days. Next time I saw the doctor, she said, "You guys did a great job. You guys got pretty good code enforcement out there." So either way, I want to wish you a good future, and God bless you. And you have, when I see you guys together, you guys are all, seem like you're good friends, and you get along real good. And you're going to pass the baton to somebody that's over here, sitting right next to you. And I know is going to continue doing a good job. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, let's go down and get a picture of this. Come on up, buddy. I'm not blushing. That's it. Any more public comment from anybody else on the audience? I got one. We had our 59th annual Loggers Jamboree this weekend, and we had our 125 year birthday float that the 125 year committee put together, and I can't thank them enough. That wasn't on the schedule, and they talked to Melissa, and she said they would try to get her son to do it, and they come up Saturday, and it was a beautiful float. I rode on it. Max rode on it, and
Had a good time.
yeah, Matt Treber, his wife Tammy, and Nolan, their son, all rode on it. Brittany, my chief of staff, she's not in here, rode on it. My girlfriend Leslie and my two grand boys, Sebastian and John, rode on it. Tim Kern and Annette Kephart from Third Floor, her and her boyfriend rode on it. And I had asked the Squirrel Cage Theater if they had any of their actors that came and gave us that play on 125th birthday, if they could have anybody. So they had this lady and three of the kids that's actors in the Squirrel Cage Theater up there, and they dressed up in their old clothes and they all rode on it. And I think it was the hit of the whole parade. It was one of our bigger parades, and we got a lot of compliments on it. And I just want to thank our staff and Melissa and her son especially. It's his trailer it's off. It don't get to be worked because it's all decorated up, and that's been that way since April, right? And he tows it up with his truck, and he bought all the hay bales and the big candle. And so tell your son, thank you from all of us, because it's really important especially what they're doing and their time. And that's not just a couple hours, They got to put it together. They have to rent a U-Haul truck to put all the goodies inside of it, then bring it up to wherever the parade is, put it all together, then take it all apart, and then take it home. So thank you. That's all I can say.
What time was the parade?
It was at 5 o'clock.
It was in the evening.
In the evening.
On a weekend.
On a weekend. And that's all their time. So almost the whole day of Saturday was gone for all those people. So thank you. I don't know what time you got home. It had to be at least like 7, probably. Huh? 8:30? Yeah, see? Thank you. I mean, you can't thank people like that enough. And that's kind of dedication we have with our employees here. And I just take Eric leaving like that. I mean, he has been one dedicated employee. We got hundreds of them like that. So thank you. Okay, we're going to go to the consent calendar. When we do the consent calendar, we're pulling items J, K, and L. Sarah Boss has got jury duty, so she wanted to be here, and I got questions on one of them anyway, and so she asked to pull those 3. So, and whoever makes a motion, we're going to go out. Any comments from the board members first? Any from the public on the consent calendar? Seeing none, what's your pleasure, board?
Move to,
And that's pulling J, K, and L?
Yes.
Okay. So, roll call, please. Rhonda?
we're on 7A. I was seconding it.
Okay. Call for the vote. Supervisor Poitras? Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Okay. That was 5A. Mine. Is that what you were saying, Ben?
No, it was 7A that I seconded it, but it should be 5.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Oh, I see. She's got,
Yeah, I got it.
okay. That's what,
We'll cancel that. There you go.
okay. You're right. 30. Going to regular session now, 7A.
7A, presentation of a proclamation proclaiming July 5th, 2018 through July 21st as Probation Services Week. Whereas community corrections is an essential part of the justice system, and whereas community correction professionals uphold the law with dignity while recognizing the right of public to be safeguarded from criminal activity, and whereas community corrections professionals are responsible for supervising adult and juvenile offenders in the community, and whereas community corrections professionals are trained professionals who provide services and referrals for offenders, and whereas community corrections professionals work in partnership with community agencies and groups, and whereas community corrections professionals promote prevention, intervention, and advocacy, and whereas community corrections professionals provide services, support, and protection for victims, and whereas community corrections professionals advocate community and restorative justice, and whereas community corrections professionals are a true force for positive change in their communities. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Board of Supervisors of the County of Madera, State of California, does hereby recognize and proclaim July 15th through 21, 2018 as Probation Services Week, and encourage all citizens to honor these community correction professionals and to recognize their achievements.
Okay.
Mike?
Sorry. I'm here with Deputy Chief Jose Pantoja from Adult Services Division. We're here on behalf of our chief, who's at a conference right now, and he did ask me to be brief, and so I will try to do that by...
Take all the time you want. He's not here.
He always says I talk too much, so I kept it to a minimum here, so I'm going to go ahead and read this. On behalf of the chief and the probation department, we'd like to thank the board of supervisors and the CAO for supporting Madera County probation throughout the year. This is a special week every July where we take the time to honor and celebrate all of the staff who serve a variety of roles within the probation department. Although probation staff have many functions, probation departments are charged with the following 3 basic principles. We must protect the public from risky individuals by making appropriate sentencing recommendations to the court. We must make sure those individuals sentenced to community supervision serve their probation period. And we must work with all those probation supervision, under probation supervision, to help in the reduction of recidivism. These things are all inextricably linked in the minds of probation professionals. as they are the enduring requirements of all probation services. So thank you again for your support and for this recognition for next week.
Jose, you got anything you want to say?
Well, since Stephanie was given a cutoff time, I was just make sure that that stayed limited. So no, I
You
just
were
want to
there
say
with the hook?
yeah. No, so I was just want to say thank you guys as well. We really appreciate this recognition. We'll be doing a lot of staff functionings for the next week as well for our staff.
I got you. Did she do okay? I mean,
She did great.
okay.
She always does.
Brett, Supervisor Frazier.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment about probation and the last part of the proclamation where it says, making the community a better place and having a lasting impact. And when I go, I spend a lot of time at the schools and do like mock interviews and different things like that. And a lot of times, more than anything else, I hear kids that have been in trouble say that they want to be a probation officer. And I had asked one kid, it always stuck with me, and this is before I got onto the county board, but they said they were the only people that were always there for me. And that was the only, it was like a father or mother figure that this kid didn't have, and they wanted to do better because of that. And it always stuck with me, and I just wanted to share that those relationships, even though they're forced by the courts, are sometimes the only thing that these kids can count on. And I just wanted to share that and thank you for what you guys do.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that.
We got a proclamation for you. So, board members come down. Item 7B.
7B, Community and Economic Development Department Planning Division. Discussion and consideration of approval of a fee waiver for a conditional use permit for the Triumph Volleyball Academy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
It's working.
Matt Treber, Community Economic Development Director. My apologies to the board and the public for this. I would request that we continue this item and we bring it back before you. The family and the applicant for the academy has had an issue, is unavailable to attend, and they wanted to be here, and I think it's appropriate that they are here for this item, so I would request that we
I
continue
move
this.
that we continue this item to a date unspecified.
Second, any public comment on that? Seeing none, roll call, please.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the second was from,
Max.
okay. Call for the vote. Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras? Supervisor Frazier?
Yes, Rhonda, is it?
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Okay, thank you very much. 7C.
7C, Community and Economic Development Planning Division. Discussion and consideration to adopt an ordinance amendment introduced at the December 5, 2017 Planning Commission meeting proposed by the County of Madera for a zoning ordinance text change to amend Title 18, Chapter 18.90 of the Madera County Code pertaining to signs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Matt Treber again, Planning Director. I also have Becky Beavers, my Deputy Director, who was instrumental in bringing this item forward. There's been a lot of work that's gone into this, and a lot of coordination with the Planning Commission and staff working through some of those issues. With that, I'm going to kick it off to Becky, who does have a brief presentation for the board's consideration this morning.
Which one are?
We are not going to talk about the network. There we go.
Modernization.
There it is.
This is an amendment to Chapter 18.90 to add freeway sign regulations. The Freeway 99 corridor offers many opportunities for business development. The area has excellent regional accessibility and highway exposure provided by Freeway 99. Provides good opportunities for commercial, retail, office, light industrial, related business development. The commercial and industrial designations provide for a variety of commercial land uses, including large format retail, restaurants, including drive-throughs, service commercial and other retail uses, office uses, and light industrial. What you're looking at here are the 8 interchanges and the zoning associated with those 8 interchanges. There are 8 interchanges that will be divided into 4 quadrants or corners. To cut down on the number of freeway signs along Freeway 99, 1 highway sign or freeway sign will serve each interchange quadrant. In other words, 4 freeway signs can be located at each interchange. Existing or future businesses within the service area or quadrant will be provided an opportunity when available to locate on the freeway sign. Businesses within the quadrant shall be considered on-premise tenants. The property owners where the freeway sign is located shall be responsible to maintain the freeway sign in a clean, attractive, structurally sound, and electrically safe fashion. All signs must be consistent with the sign criteria. The property owner shall provide a sign plan for the signs that include sign space available in the consistent manner with all tenants, where all tenants have a fair access to sign space at a fair market rate. The tenant shall be responsible for the design, fabrication, and installation of tenant signage on the freeway sign. At any time, the tenant does not keep the lease agreement in good standing, the property owner may, at the tenant's expense, replace or remove any sign that is installed without the property owner's consent. Planning Commission on a 3-0-2 vote, 0 against and 2 absent. The Planning Commission recommended approval to the Board of Supervisors. Thank you.
I would just like to add a couple brief items. As you'll see on the slide, this was a sign that was approved, a variance issued by the Planning Commission, which really was the kind of start of staff looking at and reviewing our sign ordinance. It's a very rarely do we get a sign that is oriented to the freeway user that meets the existing code, which is a maximum of 35 feet in height, which just isn't sufficient for freeway interchange signage. Oftentimes those interchange and the overpasses would block a 35-foot sign. So this new ordinance does permit by right a 90-foot sign. It increases the sign area to 1,200 square feet to really provide for the opportunity for a mix of tenants to utilize one existing signage in the area, so you don't have a Jack in the Box and a Subway and a 76 gas station all putting large pylon signs up. I did want to also say that there was on that sign specifically a lot of coordination with the city of Madera. And you'll notice that that sign does mirror the AM PM sign that you see at Avenue 17. So we did work and try to come up with kind of a clear message or between the cities and the county on a common theme for the signage on the 99 corridor. All of these signs will require the county logo and the county emblem to be incorporated into that. I think that's a key feature, really as part of the branding, and would be good for the county as a whole. I just wanted to point out a lot of this was through significant coordination with our friends across the street and looking at their sign ordinance and trying to mirror a lot of those aspects so we have a clear message throughout the 99 corridor. With that, staff's available for any questions.
Any questions from the board? Supervisor Rogers?
Yeah, Matt, I'm happy to see this coming forward. Becky, thank you. The commercial corridors it's an important thing to keep them clean, significant, visibly pleasing, and it just mirrors an image for a county. When you drive through a county and you see hand-painted signs, and you see temporary signs, you see billboards that are not, they're not commercially developed. They were hand painted by somebody. It creates an unsightly situation for, and too many signs, and no concentricity, no cohesiveness to the signs or the message, what have you. And so this is an important amendment to our circumstances. The quality of signs and getting rid of those temporary signs, I think, is going to be a step for code enforcement once we pass this ordinance. So we want to pass that down to code enforcement and start, getting property owners to enforce this. Having an ordinance is one thing, enforcing it's quite another. And I know I could speak to that with the city of Chowchilla. We passed a number of good quality ordinances back in the early 90s, and now they're not enforcing those ordinances, and you see a negative detriment to the community as a result of that. So it's important that this is continually enforced. Thank you for the progress.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yeah. One thing I like that in our sign ordinance, we're setting the price of gas at $2.88. I'll take that all day long.
Yeah.
But I think this is an important part of partnering with these businesses as they locate on 99. That's a travel corridor that people are coming all throughout, and by the time you see a 30-foot sign, you're already past it, and you're moving on to the next one that you can find. These big signs, I know multiple times I've pulled off. Manteca has that one just as you're coming up the 120, and Turlock, you see it all the time, and it pulls you off of the freeway because it lets you know exactly. And then the more that you have on that sign, it really pulls you off because you know that you can get something for everybody in the car, whatever it is they need. So I think it's very important that we have these. One of the questions on the quadrants. So am I to understand there's just going to be one sign for each exit, or is it one sign for each corner of that exit?
Yeah, it would be one sign for each corner. And we looked at that in a lot of detail. The county on our interchanges, we do have large acreage and parcels on those different quadrants. And for example, the Avenue 12 interchange, which is large, right? It could be confusing, and really what signage is, right, is to direct the public and the traffic to where they need to be. So that's where we looked at, so the southwest, northwest, southeast, northeast, each would have the opportunity for one of these large signage to direct traffic to those businesses that exist at that location on that location.
Perfect. It was just it seemed like one sign per intersection. I was going to say that was going to be a nightmare for you have everything over here and everybody goes there, but Panda Express is there. Perfect. That was my only concern, but I think we're good.
Okay. What was the square footage on those? I got the 90-foot tall.
It's 90 feet tall, 1,200 square feet.
1,200.
And it does.
I thought somebody said in between the intersections, the signs. Did we have any say on those? Is that all Caltrans?
We do have say on those, and it would be pointed out that this ordinance does prohibit the additional billboard signage that's out there. And really, there's that's built out for the most part that you see. But we know we do have control, land use control over the siting of those of billboards.
That's what I was wondering, because we got some really ugly ones out
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Dave was saying, so we do have some control over those then?
We do, but I would say the ones that are existing out there that have the tag from Lamar, or those are pre-existing, and many times pre our signed ordinance, right? So I don't want to have the board thinking that we have the ability today to go after those billboard signage that exist out there legally, that illegally exist. Illegal ones, we certainly have the ability to.
Well, I was wondering too, when I was talking to Caltrans about some of them earlier this year, they won't let you put one like every 400 feet or something. Do we have that in our ordinance so that we have any control over that?
We do have restrictions. We call it as, we refer to them as off-premise signs, meaning they're advertising a business that isn't occurring at that location.
Right.
And we do have restrictions. They can't be closer than 1,000 feet from any other off-premise sign. So you can't have, you have to have 1,000 feet, and they have to be 500 feet from any intersection. So that's the setback
So clear
requirements.
these up, it won't let no other signs down the road.
Correct. On the 99 corridor, those cease based on
I
this
just want to
ordinance.
make sure we control that, because all the trouble we had, the ones on 41 there for a while.
Yeah, and it does, in the ordinance today, it requires an entitlement action. It requires zoning permit for any off-premise signs. That's anywhere in the county. That hasn't changed as a part of this. What has changed is the elimination of additional billboards on the 99 corridor.
Okay, so this is only for 99.
Correct.
What about 41, like the new, we approved that thing on 209 and 41. Should we not include 41 on that and 145?
We can certainly, that is not before you today, but if it's the board's
152.
direction, we can certainly bring 152 and 99 and 41. We can
152.
certainly look at amendment, and we should be able to get that before you relatively quickly. It's a good point.
I think that we should cover it all. I mean, why are we
Absolutely.
just picking on 99? I think it should be all the way through.
Keeping with our goals that we established.
Supervisor Frazier?
The digital billboards that covered in here, or is there the ability to do that? You see them, again, all over the place. They end up being nicer looking because you don't have any of the vinyls peeling off. You don't have any of that, and they can change more rapidly. They don't fade. They look a lot nicer. Is that?
Yeah, so historically, the county has restricted or not permitted interchangeable lighting signs. That gets towards more the flashing beacons and those sorts of things. We have permitted the LED, which is really where the industry is going in a lot of fashion. So that's something certainly to look at. We do restrict, right, and we require, Caltrans really leans on those intermittent lighted signs to ensure that we don't have a traffic safety issue.
Yeah, they don't move. They're still fixed.
Yeah.
It's not like a bright light that's coming out. It's just
Absolutely.
backlit. Yeah. So those are permittable.
We will ensure they are permittable so long as you've said, right, they're not a flashing beacon intermittent, right, but it's a solid sign and a solid transition, yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yeah, I noticed that the code covers the idea that if a sign becomes dilapidated, it's dealt with. And I was wondering about realty signs, because there's a lot of for sale signs that are scattered through, various corridors. And do we require them to get a permit for that, and a yearly permit, or what is required for that? Some of them are quite large.
Yeah, for the for sale signs, they do fall under business and profession code requirements, and we do get complaints from time to time on that, and we do our best. Our ordinance doesn't speak specifically and says you can only do, but we do see a lot of 36 by 48 kind of that's that's not feet, but large, 4 by 8 foot signs are typical on the ag pieces in the larger zone. And so long as that property is listed, we typically consider that to be a non-issue. Now, if it's sitting up there and looking dilapidated, absolutely we can take action.
Some of them been up there for the 8 years I've been in office, so I'm
Yeah.
looking at them thinking, is it really for sale or is it just?
Everything's for sale.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, yeah. I
At the
mean,
right price, everything's for sale.
do we have a time limit on those, and do they need to re-up?
It's got to be listed, like you said. Land.
Yes, if they're listed, we consider it permitted and not an issue. If
Any
it's
way to check on those?
unlisted, yeah, sure. If we get, absolutely, like anything on the code enforcement, right? We get complaints, we'll go out there and do that investigative work and cite where necessary, or contact the property owner to let them know they need to remove that sign. And we've done a number of those.
I was gonna say, we've done them because up on 41, a few of them had their sign just
Right.
on people there, like the one was on these cousins' land, and
Yeah.
so they not only us but the Caltrans also.
Well, I think it's
Took some
important
out.
as a part of our, we discussed this at our annual goal setting sessions, that we wanted our commercial corridors to look good and clean.
Mhm.
And this is a good starting point to do that. One of the starting points, weed abatement's another. And so it's just, I think it's great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there can Caltrans trump any of these and put a sign up on any of these corners?
I do not believe Caltrans in their, if they own the property, if Caltrans is,
If they don't, I mean, if
no, then Caltrans,
they have to go through us first.
yeah, they'd have to, if it's private property outside of the government purview of Caltrans, meaning it's not owned by the state, absolutely, it would have to adhere to our standards.
What I was wondering if they, like on one of these corners, Avenue 12, some of the other businesses decide they don't want to use on that one, and they could go to Caltrans and get a permit to put one up.
Well, no, they can't do that. Caltrans can't trump us on their, on
Good.
private property
One
out
of the
there.
few things they can. Okay, public comment. Any public comment on this? What's your pleasure,
I
board?
move to approve.
I make the motion to approve.
Okay, second.
We got a motion second. Roll call, please.
Ashby?
Now you put it up. You didn't have it up, son. Yes.
And what do you do about all these signs, elect Tom Wheeler? They're up there forever.
No, it's Robert Poitras and Borges. Borges is the only ones I see up there now.
I'll defer to county council.
I always rip them down.
When you're on Tozier stuff. I know. You done, Max? Can I take
done.
it? Okay. A roll call, please.
Call for the vote. Call for the vote. Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras? Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
7D.
7D, Corrections Department, discussion and consideration of approval of receipt of unanticipated revenue number 17-175 in the amount of $75,000, transfer from general fund balance to corrections equipment, furniture, and food services for fiscal year 2017, 2018, 4 votes required.
Who's going to present this? Anybody?
Mr. Chairman, doesn't look like anybody is here yet from the Department of Corrections, so maybe we could table this until the end of the regular agenda, give them time to get here.
Okay. Move to item 7E.
Okay, 7E, County Administration Department, General Services Division, Hall of Justice Facility Project. 1, discussion and consideration of approval of transfer of appropriations number 17-146 in the amount of $24,000. Transfer from contingency appropriations for contingency to general fund, cash flow loan, operating transfers out, 4 votes required. 2, discussion and consideration of approval of a receipt of unanticipated revenue number 17-145 in the amount of $24,000 derived from the general fund to be appropriated to DA probation building land, 4 votes required.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Maria Miranda with General Services. Before you today are budget adjustments in the amount of $24,000 related to the property purchase for the future Hall of Justice project. The funds will be used for relocation services to be provided by Hanmer Jewell and Associates. Pursuant to Government Code entitled 25, the county is required to prepare a relocation plan and provide relocation advisory assistance to all occupants that are impacted by a county property purchase. The advisory assistance that is provided is fairly intensive. It includes personal interviews, assessing income levels, size of family, age of children. They act as a go-between for the occupants and the county on relocation services. They provide occupants with info on comparable properties, availability, deposit, security, and so forth. Hamner Jewell has based their costs for services on a specific number of hours, 190, and that's spread across all 4 units. The Public Works Department has an on-call contract with Hamner Jewell, and these rates are based off that contract. And with that, I'm available for questions.
Any questions from Miss Maria? Mr. Ake?
Mr. Chairman, that was from the previous item.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't take it off. Okay, any public comment? Hearing none, what's your pleasure?
You have a second?
We have a second over here. Roll call, please.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Poitras? Yes. Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you. 7F.
7F, Information Technology Department, Security Compliance Program and Infrastructure Upgrade Project. 1, discussion and consideration of entering into an agreement with Converge One, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $5,973,524.05 to provide products and services to increase network security compliance and to upgrade the network infrastructure. 2, discussion and consideration of approval to authorize the Chief Information Officer to approve the statement of work that are associated with the network and security optimization services.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman of the Board, board members, Tanya Say, Chief Information Officer, and with me today is Brian Rohde, Information Technology Manager over our network infrastructure.
And Chairman of the Board and members of the Board, Regina Garza, County Counsel.
Oh.
Before staff gets started on their presentation, Exhibit B, the first page of Exhibit B of the agreement, 7F, you've been given a correction page.
Oh, that's this one.
Yep,
Right,
and there's
okay.
copies for members of the public. If the board decides to approve this, then with the switch,
Do we
that'd be
have
great.
this? Okay. Got that.
The item before you is a contract totaling just under $6 million to upgrade the network and to apply and increase our network security. So just a little bit of background information. What we're going to be touching on today is very much at our infrastructure level. So this is what we consider the highways, the freeways, the roadways. This is how information moves across the network. So pretty much think about this as anything that passes through our network is going to go through the infrastructure level. A little bit more background information. We were, now in retrospect, it ended up being a good thing, but during it, when we were going through it, it was a little bit rough. We received an audit from the Department of Justice for information security with the Sheriff's Office back in 2015. On top of that, we also received a security review through the Department of Child Support Services in 2017 that also had review findings. The good news on this is, although it was rough in the beginning, the good news is that we learned a lot and we grew from that experience and we knew that we needed to make changes. One of the things that was paramount to us that we realized was that the security guidelines are very much the same. The security guidelines, even though they might be worded slightly different and even though different departments have different requirements, they across the board pretty much point back to the same requirements. And I included a list of those in the overview portion of the project. There's links to, I know, the Department of Justice, the child support requirements, which fall under the IRS, publication 1075. And so we included a bunch of those links in the summary of our proposed project. So if anybody wanted to take a look at what those requirements are, then you would be able to see them there. What we did is when we embarked on this journey, we wanted to look for a county-wide program so that we weren't just reacting to different audits that were coming in. And so part of this was an assessment from a independent agency, SigmaNet. They came in, they did an assessment. Brian's going to talk a little bit more about that, but they showed us where all our deficiencies were. Then in addition to that, we also had a site walkthrough in our data centers, and the data centers in terms of the infrastructure equipment that resides in those data centers. And that was also telling in terms of some of the adjustments that we needed to be made. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Brian, and he's going to talk a little bit about what the assessments told us.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Brian Rohde, Network Infrastructure Manager. So as Tanya mentioned, we undertook an independent assessment of the network, and doing so, they look at two components, the two major components of the infrastructure, one being the data center and the other being the infrastructure itself. And on this slide, you'll see that we have the scores of that assessment. We'll start with the data center, and you'll see here we're within the 57th percentile of thousands of public and private agencies that have undertaken this similar assessment. Above that is the infrastructure, in which we're primarily talking about, and there we're in the 13th percentile, and you'll see a large discrepancy between the two. The major reason of that difference in score is in fiscal year 14-15, we undertook a major investment of approximately $600,000 in the data center itself, and that originated our private cloud, allowed us to be much more agile with our server infrastructure. In addition, we've had a server replacement plan in place for approximately 10 years. So we're constantly refreshing our servers, similarly to what we plan on doing with our desktops. Unfortunately, in the infrastructure, that has not taken place. So the last major investment was made at a county level, and I say at a county level because we have made investment at remote sites or individualized sites. The major investment was done in 2000, 2001. So in IT terms, we're very far behind. And that gives us an overall score of 66.2 and in the 28th percentile. So what does that look like physically? This is the current state of the network, and we laid it out in geographically. This is not an exact representation, but ultimately this gives us an overview of what our network looks like. You'll see that there are 3 circles green. Those are infrastructures or segments of the infrastructure that are actually current. But you'll notice that the majority of the network infrastructure is red. That means end of life, non-supported, very risky equipment on the network.
Get rid of it.
So the reason we have some in green, as Tanya mentioned, we had a law enforcement audit, and in addition, they got a new facility. So when they received the new facility, we put the latest equipment in, and then as a result of the audit, we also improved their network. The same lies for Department of Child Support Services. And then here in the Government Center, approximately 5 years ago, Nortel, who was our main manufacturer in this building, went out of business. So we had to make a change, and we replaced all of our equipment from Nortel to Cisco. So it gave us a little bit of a boost here in this office, or in this building, excuse me. So you may ask what the impact is, and there's lots. We have approximately 43% of our network infrastructure is end of life, and 51% of the software on that network is also end of life. Excuse me. The following 2 bullet points, you'll see that there are numerous errors. Now, the assessment was ran over a 30-day period, and over 30 days, there were millions of errors found on our network. Now, that may sound alarming, and it is, but there are billions of pieces of data traversing this network every single day. Now, although we have these errors, networks are incredibly resilient, particularly Cisco systems networks. They're incredibly resilient, and they can handle these types of errors. But the problem is we have unpredictability. If these errors continue, we can have mass outages, unplanned downtime and work for our department, and ultimately it impacts the user negatively along with the constituent, because now we have no idea when these outages may occur.
And let me interject just one moment. On the end of the life year 2, when we're unsupported and we can't replace equipment, that results in a very chaotic state when a piece of equipment goes out. We have no way of telling if that's going to be at a critical. We don't know if it's going to affect the public safety department. We don't know if it's going to affect behavioral health. We don't know what that's going to affect. And when you can't get the part because it's end of life, nor can you get support, it becomes a very chaotic state for IT to reside in.
So thanks, Tanya. You may ask the solution, and the easy solution is make everything green, right? Yeah. Unfortunately, it's not quite that simple. This transition is like replacing every road, every overpass, every freeway within the Madera County network infrastructure. And we're doing that because we're looking this from a strategic standpoint. We really want this to go the next 8 to 10 years from a hardware standpoint. We don't want to continue on this path of coming back to your board and hodgepodging and piecemealing pieces of this network. So not only do we get to replace the hardware itself, but Cisco, the manufacturer in which we plan to utilize, they've designed their hardware in a way where security is in the front of that design process. And what I mean by that is, in the past, network manufacturers would just create hardware and send data where it needs to go. Today, they're doing the same thing, but they're also designing it to say, how do we need to do this with security in mind? So the new infrastructure really allows us to move forward with not only better performing, better reliability, but ultimately in a more secure way.
And with that intent-based networking, we had the opportunity to discuss with other CIOs and other managers recently at a conference to sit down and talk to see where other people are at. County of Monterey is about probably 18 to 24 months ahead of us. LA County Children's Hospital is probably about 18 months ahead of us. City and County of San Francisco is in discussions probably at about the stage that we're at right now. And with this, we've been able to learn some valuable experiences. When I talked to the manager at County of Monterey, I said, well, is there any way, we could speed up this process? And he kind of laughed and said, no, it really is a process. When you're flipping that entire network, you're tearing up all of your roads. You still need a road to drive on during that process. So it was good to hear about some of their experiences and some of the lessons that they've learned along the way, and to realize that we're not alone in this process. Oh, the City of Fresno is also in discussions as we speak to move towards this intent-based networking. So what we've learned through this whole process is that security really is a journey, and that depending on what research you look at, about 45% of it is based on people and process. So although our plan that we're proposing today is very network and technology related, we did include in the products, we did include for training services, which we would like to work with HR, because we do really need to get the county population, employee population trained, because they can unknowingly be the weakest link. In addition, we really need to get processes and policy established. We need to update the network security policy to be in alignment with the changes that we're making. And Brian's going to share a little bit more about the technology piece.
So as Tony mentioned, undertaking a security journey is not just a matter of throwing technology at the problem, although it is a large component of doing so. It is the combination of people, process, and technology that really allows us to combat information security holistically. And from a technology standpoint, the old way of securing a network was somewhat synonymous to a castle and a moat, the castle being our network infrastructure and the moat being internet firewalls or firewalls surrounding that. Unfortunately, as attacks have become much more intelligent and hacking has become big business, it's no longer a teenager trying to take your network down for fun. There is lots of money being sponsored behind getting information from organizations. That castle moat analogy no longer works. So what this infrastructure is allowing us to do is move into next generation security products. And that allows us to segment the network in a way where our people can only get to where they need to get to when they need to get to from whatever device they want to use to get there. So that not only gives us an agile way of movement for you and our employees to access our data, but if for some reason we are attacked, it only allows the attacker to get to very small segments of that network. So we're kind of compartmentalizing the pieces that we need to compartmentalize. In addition, we're trying to move to a sensor level firewall. And what I mean by that is we want every device that has the ability to do so to become its own firewall. No longer do we just have a firewall at the perimeter trying to keep people on the outside from coming in. We will still have that. But on the inside of the network, we want to ensure that if we are indeed attacked, we know about it. And the way we can know about it is the technology allows for our engineers to have increased visibility. So in the event that something weird is taking place, performance, reliability, or an attack, increased visibility will allow our engineers to see exactly what's going on. So with that said, we do have a roadmap in terms of what we hope to accomplish within the next 18 to 24 months. And currently our overall compliance score is 43%. Now I want to be very clear that increasing compliance does not necessarily mean our security is inherently better. They do run in parallel, and by increasing compliance, inherently our security posture will get better, but it's not 100%. So 100% compliance really isn't our objective here. Our objective is to increase our security posture to a level of comfort of the board, administration, and each department head. So what we're looking for as a target within the next 18 to 24 months is a 70% to raise from 43% compliance to 70%. And an optimistic goal for us will be an 85% increase in compliance.
So in closing, if there's one thing that I would really like to emphasize is that if similar to like the pavement management system that the roads department has taken on, we really need to have a system development life cycle where we are constantly replacing equipment. Because really what's happened is we expect a network that was designed in 2000, 2001 to operate in an environment in 2018. And it's really not possible for that network to operate at that level. So a little bit of, in summary on the actual contract, what the contract is requesting is there's a total of $4.8 million that's in products that is to replace end-of-life equipment and to offer some of the security tools that the project requires. In addition, there's another $492,500. That is the implementation services. That's the planning portion and the implementation portion. So similar to like when we go to build a building, there's a design, there's a network architecture piece, there's a network engineering piece, there's a network implementation piece. So the part that the vendor, the $492,500, would be for the planning and high-level design and implementation of the project. In addition, part of the project includes training our staff once this gets into place, how they maintain this environment. Because remember, we've been asking them to support a network that was built in 2000, and now we're going to have a paradigm shift and we're going to switch to this is 2018 equipment. So they have to relearn what they've been doing, and they're up for the task, but it's a relearning process. There is an Exhibit B component, and when I was reviewing last night, I realized that one statement was left off, so I appreciate Ms. Garza helping to get that fixed this morning. The $640,000 is what we're calling as network optimization. No two networks are the same. We're replacing a very old network, so we really don't know what issues we're going to run up against. The network optimization proposal of $640,000 helps us to mitigate as we run up against those obstacles, and for things that we didn't think of as much as we tried to think of everything, it gives us a way that we can optimize and improve what we're doing. The statement why I really wanted that statement on Exhibit B was because we don't want this just to be a time and materials. if we enter into utilizing any of this $640,000, we want to make sure that we're able to manage to a deliverable. So we're not just going to say, okay, yeah, you have 10 hours to do such and such. We want to make sure for sure before we sign off on anything that they've done what they've said that they're going to do. The vendor is going to be able to do that. One more item, this whole proposal, the next item, should you approve the contract, the next item is to lease the equipment. That lease was budgeted for. And in addition, one item I want to make sure that is out of scope is just want to make sure that I review one of the items that's out of scope is what we did not include is a backup plan. Now, we do have a backup plan in place. It's been in place for many years. It does need to be revamped. However, unlike being able to go out and do the assessments and the reviews and the walkthroughs with the data center, backup is very much, we have to do a business impact analysis, which we are going to be doing through this, the strategic planning process. That's one of the tasks that's going to be included for the technology piece. We need to do a business impact assessment because we need to know how fast things need to come up. We need to know what we need to recover. Should there be a disaster, should data not be available, we need to know that before we just implement a new backup plan, because otherwise we could be overspending, we could be underspending, we could be making assumptions. So that is out of scope, and that will be coming back to you after we do the business impact analysis. And with all of that, we tried to go quickly. We are available for whatever questions you may have.
That was tremendous.
Really?
Frazier, Supervisor Frazier.
We've needed to, I've heard of, that we've had weak network for a long time. So I just want to thank you both for doing this Herculean task to bring this forward. Obviously it's a big number. And you know, we've known that this is coming, so we've been budgeting for it. So I appreciate the foresight in budgeting and how to get us there. So when we look at big numbers like this, you know, I want to look at how the policy that we've done in terms of less staff. So we're going to have a higher reliance on technology, right? So this supports like remote security, so we can do work in the field, like for planning or building, they can access the data out there. Is that correct?
I'm going to let Brian jump in on that a little bit more. Yes, it sets up the environment to be able to do that. It sets up our network to be able to do that. Now, the time frame of that would be within the next, we were shooting for that within the next year to be able to, within this fiscal year.
Supervisor Frazier, we actually had an item that was passed to allow us to start moving into a remote environment, and we're starting with the sheriff's office. Now, we hope to leverage that as an enterprise solution, but this solution in front of you also supports every component of that as well. So we're looking at it from mobility, wireless, wired, every piece of the network, and what this infrastructure is supporting gets us to moving forward in that direction.
So would a deputy be able to write their reports in the field?
And this is what the plan and the way this is built. The answer is yes. It's not going to be immediate. It's the 18 to 24 month proposal is to get the foundational components built. Now we are moving in parallel with other projects to help that exact example move forward. But yes, ultimately this network supports that.
So arguably you could say that a deputy could be in the field longer than having to come back, sit at a desk and write the reports, do all that stuff. At the end of the day, we could have our deputies out in the field longer.
There is some dependence on the software selected within law enforcement. We have attended presentations with the sheriff's office. Whether or not they decided to choose the particular software that was presented, I'm uncertain.
But it allows for
it. It absolutely allows for that.
So there is a benefit to the people. This isn't just the constituents benefit from this through better service.
Yes, sir.
And the sheriff's office is slightly different because they are already moving forward with their with their new system, as well as they already have mobility in the field. On June 19th, your board passed another initiative that's going to move the sheriffs forward. Other departments that also need that capability, such as
Building.
assessors, those departments, we're going to have to get them on a schedule and get them rolled out as well. And we are looking at being able to do a portion of that remote access is going to occur in 2018-19.
And a lot of those things they can't do unless they're compliant, correct? Because that's very sensitive information
Correct.
that they have availability to.
Correct.
Thank you.
Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, Brett brings up a very good point. And this occurs in a number of departments, and I'm not sure how it occurs in others, but with building and assessment and all of those, having been in those departments in my lifetime and utilizing them, I know that a lot of what they do can be done remote and means more time doing, as an example, inspections, less time filling out the paperwork that needs to be done when you get back to the office, more time assessing and entering that data in the field, less chance of actual physical transference error because you're doing that on the spot as it's real time. And so transference error is decreased. I think it's a great thing to be able to extend the time that our employees are actually doing their work in the field and in real time.
Thank you.
May I add one thing for what Supervisor Rogers and Supervisor Frazier are mentioning in terms of the staff that is going out to field, they're working in the field, and then they're, I don't know, maybe writing it down. I don't know what they're doing, and then they're coming back and they're entering that into computers. That's on the table for fiscal year 18-19. Now,
Right.
Further remote access for whatever other purposes employees may need it for, that we don't have a plan for yet. Once we set up the network the way it is, that could come down the road. But the priority is exactly what the two of you are mentioning, is the people that are out in the field, they're double entering work. They're doing work twice because they don't have that remote access. And
Right.
those are the ones we want to hit in
Absolutely.
fiscal year 18-19.
Exactly.
Hey, where is this $6 million coming from? Is it our budget this year?
So should this contract be approved, the next agenda item is to enter into a lease, a 5-year lease, and it would be 1.2 million per year, 1.1, 1.2 million per year. And that is budgeted, that's already been budgeted in fiscal year 18-19.
1.2 or whatever it is has been budgeted now, and then it'll be our future ones.
Right.
And then at the end of it's a lease that we own it at the end of it? Is this a lease purchase? Or?
There is an opportunity to purchase that. However, one thing we do have to kind of keep in mind is that hardware and software have about a 5-year replacement schedule.
Right.
So we may not, at the end of this 5 years,
Keep
we
it.
may not want to keep that equipment. It may be time for a replacement because we don't want to be in a situation again where we're acting like we're in 2018 when we're really in 2000,
Well, I
2001.
think that we need to do is just keep it, a budget going so that it's like our fire truck replacement plan. We've never had replacement plans in this county forever. Now, since 2001 on this, I mean, it's, so I think that Joel up here, our finance guy, I'd like to hear from him and see what he says, how we can keep this as a continuing operation going to have complete replacement. I mean, just look at our phones alone. I've been in here since, 12 years, what they have changed.
Oh, yeah.
Just the phone alone, not counting all this fancy stuff we have up in here.
Right,
Go.
Mr. Chairman, thanks for mentioning it. Joel Begay, County Administrative Office. We have been working with the IT department on a short and long-term plan on financing this. I want to do a point clarification, though. The annual lease for this equipment, that won't be full general fund. those would be parsed out to benefiting departments based on a fair methodology.
Oh, so
Some of
each
those,
department have their own share of costs.
right, because it's a countywide benefit. They're not an ISF, but their cost gets parsed out based on a fair methodology to departments receiving the service. So some of that would be third-party funded.
What percent do you think that is? Just a close guess. I
Right.
don't know. 50%, 40%?
I think, yeah, I think so. So for overall, when you look at common cost, the general fund share is approximately 60%.
The general fund share is approximately 41%.
41%, okay.
Where we ended up.
That's perfect.
Oh, okay.
I
Because
think
depending on the equipment, some departments benefit more.
Right.
So
No, I agree with
okay.
that. I just wonder what we got to start planning as supervisors, what we got to start thinking about every year. And it's one of those deals that, like I said, that we got to have that on our dock all the time.
Right.
Because we
And-
don't want that.
And the
Get
reason
behind it.
why it's been recommended to lease the equipment, like you said, with the fire equipment, it's you don't want to get into a boom and bust where in one
Right.
good year you can replace
Absolutely.
$3 million and
And
not.
we are there right now.
Right.
I mean, it's crazy.
So-
We've been talking about this for years, about how we're going to do it. So, thank you very much. Any public comment? Then what's your pleasure, board?
Move to approve.
Second.
Second? Roll call, please.
Chairman,
Yes, I'm sorry.
Chairman, I'm wondering if that motion is also to add the correction page to Exhibit B.
All right, and that was
Yes.
the
Yeah.
first page. Right, okay.
Sorry, that
So,
was a long time ago. I appreciate that. That is part of the motion.
And part of the second.
part of the second.
Okay. Call
Okay,
for
roll
the
call.
vote. Call for the vote. Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras? Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
7G.
7G, discussion and consideration of entering into a master lease agreement with Converge One in the amount not to exceed $5,970,524.05 for the lease of equipment and services included in the Security Compliance Program and Infrastructure Upgrade Project. 2, discussion and consideration to adopt a resolution approving a master lease agreement and related documents with Converge One Financial Services and authorizing the chairman to sign the agreement and other necessary documents as may be needed to finalize this transaction.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any questions from the audience? Any question from staff? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras? Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you guys so much.
I wanted to thank all of you. I want to thank the support of administration and thank you, Ms. Garza, for county council support. Thank you.
Well, and all the other departments that you're going to be working with now, really a lot more. So, great job. Coming up to the 19th century. 7H.
7H, Water and Natural Resources Department. Discussion and consideration to adopt a resolution certifying that Madera County will have sufficient funds to operate and maintain the project and to authorize the county administrative officer or their designee to submit an application for the fiscal year 2018 Water Smart Water Marketing Strategy Grant from the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation, conduct all negotiations, and submit and execute all related grant documents.
Good morning.
Morning.
Kristen and Stephanie.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Stephanie Agneson, Director of Water and Natural Resources.
And Tristan Champ, Grant Services Manager. And just to give a very brief overview of the grant that we are applying for, the Water Smart Water Marketing Strategy Grant. Again, the Water Smart grants, it's a whole series of grants offered by the Bureau of Reclamation that provides support for a number of their priorities, like creating conservation stewardship legacy, utilizing our natural resources, restoring trust with local communities, striking regulatory balance, modernizing infrastructure. This specific application is for development of a water marketing strategy. And again, water marketing, and I'm still kind of getting used to the concept, but basically it's where different water users or water purveyors can trade rights or amounts of water amongst each other. And again, the grants for development, either planning or development of an actual water marketing strategy. And our deadline is coming up quickly next week on July 17th. And
It's
we're
all
working on-
written?
What's that?
Is it all written?
I think so. We're getting there.
Good, then. Let me hear it.
And we're working in conjunction with the Farm Bureau on the grant application.
Good.
And it will be submitted on time and all that. That's no question. And right now, the application, we're seeking $200,000 in federal funds from the Bureau of Reclamation with a match of another $200,000, and this will come out of next year's fiscal budget to develop the planning efforts for a water marketing strategy.
Okay.
I'll just speak briefly to the four elements. There's funding in the grant for partnership building and outreach workshops to work with constituents so that their interests are taken into account for the water market. We'll be able to fund an economic analysis in terms of the who, what, where, what, who's going to participate, that sort of thing, what areas can participate. We should have funds for a small pilot program, which is usually how water markets are rolled out, and we'll be able to develop a strategy document describing how the water marketing activities can take place.
Perfect. Any questions from the public? Any questions from the board members?
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a second? Thank you guys very much. We're already, I think, paying for ourselves on our grant and our new director here. So roll call, please.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras? Supervisor Rodriguez? Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
7-0.
Thank you.
Very much.
7I, Board of Directors, Special Districts, County Service Area Number 19, Rolling Hills, Public Works Department, Municipal Services Division. Discussion and consideration of entering into an exclusive negotiation agreement with Blackman Water Company for the potential sale of the County Service Area 19, Rolling Hills Water System and attributed assets, and authorize the chairman to sign the agreement.
Welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Andrea Saldati, Deputy Director with Public Works. A little over a year ago, the residents of SA 19 Rolling Hills came to us, Public Works, asking for us to privatize their water system. That was May of 2017. In July of 2017, we came before your board asking for direction, and at that point in time, the direction was to, yes, move forward with the privatization. We did a RFI, request for information. We received 3 from 3 different companies, American Water, Cal Water, and Bakeman Water Company. The residents voted via ballot. We received 139 votes for Bakeman Water, which was represented about 62% of the total votes. At that point in time, we came back to the board in March of 2018, asking for your direction again as to, this is the outcome of the vote, what would you like us to do? And at that point in time, your board directed us to negotiate with Bakeman. We have been in conversation with Bakeman, and at this point, we are before you is an agreement to exclusively negotiate with Bakeman for the sum of 120 days. That would take us to November 7th. During that point in time, we will negotiate with Bakeman the details of the sale, hopefully develop a purchase agreement, which will be signed by both parties, or during that 120 days, if we can get everything through, it would be the sale of escrow. So either we are negotiating with Bakeman until November 7th, or we have a purchase agreement signed, or escrow has closed. So the approval of this agreement will pretty much just give us direction to only negotiate with Bakeman. Any other outside companies or anybody asking questions or anything like that, we will not respond to. We will not solicit any other proposals. We will only be in negotiations with Bakeman.
You're done? Any questions, Supervisor Frazier?
Yeah, so say at the end of November 7th, we don't have an agreement. Do we then move on to the next responsible bidder?
We would come to your board for direction at that point.
Okay. Yep. The public comment. You're not a grand juror no more.
No more.
Don't have to take off your
Don't have to
badge.
take the badge off.
Right.
How do we put these?
It's on.
You'll always be a grand juror in my eyes.
I do.
Board members, Chairman Wheeler, my name is Bar Kohlberg. I'm a Madera County resident and specifically a resident and homeowner of CSA 19. There's a large fear and concern of many of the homeowners in CSA 19 that there's going to be a huge rate increase that's going to cover additional costs that Bakeman incurred that happened after he gains ownership and was not initially discussed and spoken during negotiations. That's our biggest concern. We don't have a problem with Bakeman or their abilities or things along those lines. It's just the I gotcha type of dollar amount that could very well happen afterward. Now, the reason I bring this to your attention is for information, and also during the meeting that Supervisor Frazier had, the last one out at the Valley Children's Hospital, we asked as to whether or not it would be possible to have citizens on the committee for negotiations with Bakeman, and we were advised by County Council, who was present that day, no, you cannot. I'm wondering as to whether or not there's a way to be able to make that happen to allow for more openness during the process, and if the board would take and consider that, discuss it with County Council and see if there might be a way to be able to develop a committee that assists during negotiations. I've got some handouts for you here, and specifically one of the concerns that we have is that you'll see in pages the 6th and 7th page is what Cal Water proposes. And one of the things that, or two of the things that they're proposing that's not listed under Bakeman is a new treatment plant and a new storage tank. The county has these items included in their bid, but Bakeman does not. Now, I don't know why. Maybe it's because the process that they're going to go through doesn't require it, and maybe it's left it off. There's only a $12 differential monthly between what Cal Water and Bakeman are proposing. That was the deciding factor for the vast majority of individuals to vote for Bakeman. There are a lot of folks out there on fixed income or folks out there that have kids in college at $12. Doesn't seem like an awful lot, but $12 here, $10 there adds up. So we want to make sure that the negotiating team takes into consideration the treatment plant and the storage tank during their discussions. And if it's not required, then it's not required in the system. But again, our primary concern is that we're going to get zapped after everything's all said and done. Now, I understand this is just a preliminary, let's talk for another 120 days, and we're getting that much closer to the dance. But part of that dance is the negotiation period, and we'd like to have an opportunity to keep these things in mind on the negotiating team, and also actually, if you could, is to allow us to participate in that negotiation. I'm finished. Thank you.
Thank you. County Council, could you answer the first one for us? Question.
Yes, Chairman, members of the board. So with regards to negotiating the sale of county assets, I'm not sure that I said you wouldn't be allowed to include them in these open meetings. However, certainly the terms of any sale are allowed to be discussed in closed session. And so what I recall from that meeting is really specifying that it's the county sale of their assets in the water system. And because when you get into negotiations over the sale of any property or assets, sometimes the terms need to be discussed behind closed doors, the value of those things. And if there's a desire from this board to add any individuals to the process, then I think it can certainly be discussed and and carved out the difference between closed session and open session discussions.
Well, when they do the negotiations, they will be doing it. Well, we won't be doing that. The staff will be doing that, right?
Staff, and I think the negotiating team also includes at least a minority of the board. Certainly, the entire board can't. However, when the final sale agreement comes to the board, I mean, the entire board has to approve it. But
Right. Would
I
you
know
recommend a board member to be on it?
I have been.
Yep.
All of the negotiations.
You want another one with you, or?
And we could if someone wants to. And yeah, I take all of your. I'm not just fighting just for the county, but I'm making sure that the residents of CSA 19 are made whole. That the and then relying on our engineers to say yes, this is going to work. No, that's not going to work. Can they do that? And making sure that proof is in the pudding. I'm not going to sell it until I'm comfortable that they can perform. And end of the day, through all the negotiations, my biggest concern is the water certainty for CSA 19. That's what I'm in there for.
If you want to, I'd come with you too. I wouldn't mind. Okay, the second question, actually the first question was that they could jack up the prices a year. How does a private company do that? I mean, we have to have a 218 vote to do it.
The
Do they have to too?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Ahmad Al-Kat with Public Works. Yes, they will be under the PUC purview at that point, and how they raise their prices. They do still have some, there are rules of how they can proceed.
Okay,
we have the
it'd be the same way as Hillview then? When they tried to do that great big raise a couple of years ago, PUC didn't let them.
Yeah, and I just want to point out that that was a part of a lot of people's decision. It wasn't just the $12, but there was some people from the in CSA 19 that were on the Bakeman side that were bringing forward huge jumps in rates for them from starting at $60 to $250 within a few years. And so I think a lot of people got concerned that Cal Water was going to do the same thing. And I know that I had pointed that out multiple times, that once you go private, you no longer have that 218 election process, which just this year your CSA 19 was able to lodge a successful protest vote against our rate increase. Now the body that you go to is the PUC, and it's a little harder to. All they have to show is we invested this amount of money into the system, and we're going to get it back through rates. And so, that's the downturn, I think, of going private. But arguably the infrastructure should be less because you don't have the same costs that we incur through prevailing wage. So there's trade-offs, but they do have the ability to raise the rates without a 218 election. There's still
But they still got to go through the PUC,
Yeah.
and enough people complained about that Hillview when they were going to raise that, high jump. They didn't let them do it.
And Barb, would you want to be on this?
Oh, yes.
I'm shocked, but I would love.
Yeah.
There's the HOA board, but I would like to have you in there to be a part of it to help keep everybody honest. But I think we should. Obviously, you're very pro Cal Water. We should maybe also have someone from the community. Have two people on.
I should say you should have, if you're going to do this, you should have at least two.
Yeah, and so I don't know, Eric Olson or John Davies that were kind of on the other side of it might, or Chester Goodell. But I don't know if we'd have to bring that back later to appoint a couple members, or.
Well, there was never any formal approval by the board of the actual negotiating team. It formed through Public Works, and administration's office and county counsel's office has attended these meetings. And so I don't think that there is any need to take any formal action. It can be direction from today's item.
Right, just give direction, right?
Yeah, direction to have a couple people from the district involved in those. Transparency is a good thing. I think we would have to, as we're getting into price and terms, we don't want to be negotiating. That's the reason it can go into closed session. So there'd have to be some level of
Well, it just, when we have to do that, then they probably wouldn't have to be.
Yeah.
Nobody be in there, but just the board and staff, so.
So, I would do that with direction to have a couple members of the residents as part of that, just to increase
Do a
transparency.
motion, we could do that.
Yeah.
Then the third question
that helps.
was the water tank and treatment plant.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, when we received the proposals, it was really hard to compare apples to apples. That term was thrown out. We're trying to see how best we can compare proposal 1, 2, and 3. But turns out the rate was the major aspect in maybe the people's choice. But regardless, whomever we sign an agreement with must prove that their solution with a certain rate initially is a workable solution that your board will be comfortable to sell that asset and go into selling that system be private under them. So this 120 days is negotiating. They're basically doing all their due diligence to investigate and inspect our system. And then they will see what the needs are. If we need a tank, if we need a well, if we need a treatment plant, that will be at the end of the one.
Is the water clean now?
Well, the water now has its issues with arsenic and, plus
So
with
they'll need a
supply
treatment
as well.
plant.
with
And
quantity.
only two sources.
Yeah, we only have 2 wells. Right.
Okay.
And-
Oh, you took it down.
Yeah, I took it down.
So we
Answer
will
my
look into
question
that.
During the discussion.
If-
Yeah,
if
my
that
thoughts
is
were
necessary.
just that having 2 people on there to be informal, that way it doesn't bind
Yeah.
the committee, but it's for informational purposes so that there's transparency.
Yes. And like I said, I have no problem with Bakeman, okay? My first choice, sure, Cal Water, okay? Bakeman, they can do the job. I have a concern with regards to some of the past practices, but that's not on the table today. One last thing, if I may, is that one part of the packet that I have for you is a PUC rule and part of Division 5, Section 1061. And I've got it highlighted on there. It'll be the second page of your packet. And that has to do with the new supplier of water has to take and either tell what the increase is going to be or the decrease in cost versus what it was previously, if I'm reading this correctly. And I just want to make sure that that's something that does happen.
Yeah, you still have to have the noticing, and that's through the PUC of the rate change, just like, we get that from PG&E whenever their rates are going to go up. But then it notices you of the hearing at the PUC to lodge any objections to it. Of the
This
rate
is 30
increase.
days before
Right.
it's finalized.
Right. It's notifying you of when the PUC hearing would be to raise those rates.
We might be saying the same thing, but I don't think so. Before you all make the final vote, 30 days prior to that, it's still owned by the county at that point. Bakeman, if they're the ones, has to put forward, you can read it on the second page there, highlighted, it's number 4C, I believe. They have to publish what the increase in rates will be annually versus what the decrease rates will be. That's why you still own it.
Okay.
So it has nothing to do with the PUC at that
Okay.
point.
Well, I think it does a little bit relate to the PUC regulations because certainly in the negotiations thus far, We've made inquiries to Bakeman about the communications they've made already with the PUC, and all the responses and documents that have been given thus far is that they're working very closely, and so I don't think this will be missed.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I copied it and shared enough copies so that, you know, I'm not a lawyer. I'm just an old retired guy trying to save my money.
Well, this is a packet you gave us?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It'd be titled regarding CSA 19.
Okay, yeah, it does. Okay, any other public comment? Okay.
Thank you, Board.
Yeah, thank you very much. What's your pleasure, Board?
I move to approve with staff direction that we can have a couple members from the district in there.
Second.
And did you want to make a recommendation to have two?
No, I'd like to, I would, I'd like to have Bar on it, but.
No, just I mean, to have two citizens.
Yeah,
No.
two citizens,
Yeah,
not.
not no names.
Not any names, no.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
You second that, Dave?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, staff? Okay, roll call, please.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras? Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
7D now.
But the
We
system
got somebody,
works.
got here from
System
some
works.
7D finally.
7D, Corrections Department, discussion and consideration of approval of receipt of unanticipated revenue number 17-175 in the amount of $75,000. Transfer from general fund balance to corrections equipment, furniture, and food services for fiscal year 2017-18. 4 votes required.
Move to approve.
Did you forget
I
about
just,
it?
Chief Perez called off sick today, and I had just found out, so I'm here today to represent Chief Perez. Found out 20 minutes ago, so.
And Chris?
My name is Lieutenant Chris Rodriguez, Madera County Department of Corrections, on behalf of Chief Perez.
Okay. Any statements on it? I got a motion to.
Second.
You got a second? Any public comment? Seeing none? Roll call, please.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras? Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Or to make you drive.
Have a good day.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chris.
Stephanie, did you, is there something else that
Any
you?
legislation?
Oh, legislative, okay. Yeah, I was getting, I thought there was something else. Any legislation? Item 8.
Stephanie Agneson, Director of Water and Natural Resources. As you may have heard in the news, on Friday, the State Water Resources Control Board released draft final documents for the Bay Delta Plan and an update of the lower San Joaquin River. This was a staff report. The final report will be in August from the board, but of concern is that they call for considerably more water to be left in the river to prevent what they're calling ecological destruction. This would mean less water is available for other beneficial uses, including agriculture. I've checked with other agencies and am continuing to check. Merced County is responding with a letter during the comment period, and they're coordinating with their water districts. We should do the same thing, coordinate with our water districts, RC, and CSAC. We would need to submit a letter by Friday, July 27th.
Will you work on that letter for us?
I will work on a letter.
Great, and that way you can be at the next meeting, so we have it, so we
Staying on top of this.
can, the other questions from,
It's interesting that they've taken 50% of what there now they want.
yeah,
It's just,
stupidity.
I think they forget who they are.
Yeah, they leave the human out of it, that's the problem. Anyway, any other pending legislation? Thank you, Stephanie. Supervisors and staff reports. Rob. Maxie.
No report.
David.
Nothing.
Brett.
Nothing. No.
Tom Wheeler, nothing. Eric.
Nothing.
I have no report.
No report.
You got a report?
Bill,
Okay.
you got anything to report?
Thank you, Bill. Thank you for coming. Okay, we'll report back here at 1:30, and we'll go back to closed session when we get done.
30. Yeah.
you want to talk, you just push your digital
Okay,
mic
so
there.
leave this on all the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll just do it that.
By the way, there are ways for us to. That's the best way to do that.
You know what? The chairman has the ability to mute.
Yeah, I can. I can mute you. Okay, ready to get busy? We'll go back into closed session. Thank you. And away we go.
Yeah, my. Yeah. Wiki. There are no reportable actions from closed session.